They're beating my mama! They're beating my mama! A 5-year-old girl ran barefoot into a biker bar, her tiny feet slapping against the cold floor, her face streaked with tears and dirt. The jukebox stopped. Conversations died mid-laugh. 15 rough men, tattooed and leather-clad, turned toward the trembling child who had just burst into their world of noise and smoke. "Please," she cried, clutching the air as if trying to grab someone's hand. "They're killing my mama!" The biggest of them, Robert, a broad man with gray in his beard and a scar over his eyebrow, set his beer down slowly and knelt to her level. His voice was rough but gentle. "Who's hurting your mama, sweetheart?" "Mom's boyfriend," she sobbed, hiccuping through her tears. "And his friends. They're so loud. They're hitting her. She's crying and won't wake up." For a heartbeat, the bar was silent. Then the air shifted. The sound of leather creaking filled the room as every man stood. Welcome to Rising Voices, where every story carries truth, pain, and the kind of courage that changes lives. Before we continue, please subscribe, like, and share this story with your family and friends. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so you never miss a story that moves your soul. Now, sit back and listen closely because this one will stay with you. Robert placed a hand on the little girl's shoulder. "What's your name, baby?" "Sophie," she whispered. "I'm 5. "You did good, Sophie," he said softly. "Real good." He turned to his brothers. "Tank, call 911, but we're not waiting." 15 Hell's Angels, men feared by many, walked out into the night, following a child's trembling hand pointing down the street. The night air was cold, carrying the faint echo of screams and breaking glass. Sophie pointed. "There, the blue house, the one with the broken window." As they got closer, the sound grew clearer, a woman's voice begging for mercy, but after the dull thud of fists, the crash of furniture. Robert clenched his jaw. "She's in there," he muttered. "What would you do if a crying child ran to you like Sophie did? Would you rush in or call for help? Tell me what you'd do in the comments." The door was locked. Tank didn't wait. One heavy kick, and the door exploded inward. Inside looked like a war zone, bottles shattered, blood on the carpet, a lamp flickering weakly. 3 men stood over a woman curled on the floor, unmoving. Her face was swollen. Blood trickled from her nose. "Get out!" the boyfriend shouted, raising a knife. Robert's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "You just made the worst mistake of your life." Razor and Tiny tackled the other 2 men before they could even blink. The sound of bones cracking filled the room. "Sophie, don't look," Robert said, but it was too late. The little girl saw her mother's lifeless body and screamed, a sound that pierced the heart. Robert dropped to his knees beside the woman, pressing his fingers to her neck. "She's alive," he shouted. "Tiny, we need that ambulance now." Derek, the boyfriend, lunged towards Sophie, screaming, "That brat ruined everything." Robert caught his wrist mid-swing and squeezed until bones snapped. The knife clattered to the floor. "You touch that child again," he said quietly, "and you'll never touch anything else." Sirens wailed outside, blue and red lights painting the night. Detective Sarah Martinez was first through the door. "What happened here?" she asked. Robert pointed at Derek, still bleeding and cursing. "We heard screaming. We stopped a murder." Derek shouted, "They broke in. Arrest them." The detective looked him over. Knife, bruised knuckles, blood that wasn't his, and shook her head. "Sir, you're under arrest." Paramedics carried Jennifer, Sophie's mother, out on a stretcher. Sophie tried to follow, crying, "I want my mama!" A medic blocked her way. "That's my family only," he said. "She's 5. Robert argued. "Rules are rules." Then the crowd parted as a judge, in her nightgown under her coat, stepped through the door. "I'm granting emergency custody to whoever this child chooses," she said firmly. Sophie looked around at the men who had terrified her just minutes before and walked straight to Robert, her tiny arms. "You saved my mama," she whispered. He lifted her up, holding her like something sacred. "Yeah, baby, we got you now. Would you have trusted them like Sophie did, or would you have been too scared? Tell me in the comments. Jennifer spent 6 long hours in surgery. The bikers stayed the entire night. They brought Sophie snacks, a blanket, a teddy bear from the gas station. She colored pictures for each of them, dragons for Tank, skulls for Razor, and a princess riding a motorcycle for Robert. One night she looked up and said softly, "My mama says bikers are dangerous." Robert smiled. Sometimes dangerous people protect good people. Days passed. Jennifer was alive but weak. Sophie never left her side. Neither did the bikers. They became her uncles, her guardians. But peace didn't last. Derek's parents posted bail. 1 week later, he showed up at the hospital parking lot with a gun. When the bikers spotted him, they formed a wall in front of the hospital doors. "I just want to apologize," Derek said. "She doesn't want your apology," Robert replied, stepping forward. Derek's hands trembled. "You can't keep me from her forever." Then he raised the gun. Robert shouted, "Get down!" The gun went off. Once, twice. Robert stepped in front of Sophie, the bullet tearing into his shoulder. He gritted his teeth and stayed on his feet, shielding the crying child behind him. "You got shot for me," Sophie whispered through her tears. He smiled weakly. "Just a scratch, baby." When police arrived, Derek was unconscious on the ground, beaten but alive. He was charged with attempted murder of a child, domestic violence, and assault with a deadly weapon. The trial came fast. Derek cried on the stand, saying he loved Jennifer. Sophie stood up from the gallery, small but fearless. "You don't hurt people you love," she said. The courtroom applauded. Even the judge wiped away a tear. Jennifer recovered slowly. The bikers paid her rent, fixed her car, and helped her find work at their auto shop doing the books. Sophie called Robert Uncle Mike now. He taught her to change oil, ride a small bike, and throw a solid punch. "Violence isn't the answer," he'd say. "Unless someone's hurting you or your mama, then it's the only answer." 3 years later, Jennifer married a quiet ex-Marine from the shop. Robert walked her down the aisle. Sophie was the flower girl, tossing petals with fierce pride. "You saved us," Jennifer told Robert through tears. He smiled. "No, that brave little girl saved you." She knew who to run to. Since that night, the Iron Horse Bar has had a new rule. If a child ever runs in asking for help, they get it. No questions, no hesitation. 17 women and children have been rescued because of it. Sophie's 16 now. She rides her own bike, a shiny black Harley gifted by the club. On the back of her vest in silver thread, it reads, "Protected by angels," because sometimes angels don't have wings. Sometimes they wear leather and ride Harleys. If you believe that courage can live in unlikely hearts, in bikers, in children, in people who refuse to look away, hit that like button, subscribe to Rising Voices, and share this story with someone who still believes in good people. Because not all heroes wear capes. Some wear scars and carry roaring engines beneath them.